The Tolkien professor, Corey Olsen, sold his soul for Amazon money. Let's roast him. I'm Will. I host the Board Book Geek. For uncensored and early access to content, please consider becoming a channel member or joining my Patreon. So let's start the show. Before we start this roast, let's just flash back to what he said. The justification. Everything that's happened. So let's listen to that clip.
To specify is that there's no such thing really as canon in Tolkien. Tolkien's ideas were ever evolving.
It's impossible to ignore that The Rings of Power is a train wreck. Its abysmal pacing, unrecognisable hollow characters, and blatant disregard for Tolkien's lore scream out to the audience. It's no wonder fans are up in arms. And yet, in the midset of the justifiable backlash, Corey Olsen, the Tolkien professor, has positioned himself as one of Amazon's most shameless cheerleaders, spawning praise as if he's being paid by the compliment. And given the fact that the amount of money that Amazon wanted to pay me to promote their show, yes, I said no, let's be honest, he probably is. For those unaware, Olsen has built his career as a scholar, dedicated to discussing and dissecting Tolkien's work with nuance. But ever since Amazon's dumpster fire came along, Olsen seems to have abandoned any semblance of critical thought. Instead, he became a full-blown shill, eagerly defending the Rings of Power as if it's anything more than a gross misrepresentation of Tolkien's world. When Amazon decided to butcher the lore by mashing together timelines and transforming beloved characters into hollow shells for their former selves, he was right there, enthusiastically applauding these travesties as bold choices. Take Galadriel. In the hands of Amazon, she's become a one-dimensional warrior with anger management issues and all the nuance of Bella from Twilight. My God. Instead of acknowledging that these changes strip the character of her complexity, he doubles down. He called it a fresh interpretation. In a world that once had this wise, serene leader into a sword-wielding action hero, save Tolkien's legacy? The pacing of the show is another glaring issue, with many of the episodes dragging on aimlessly. He barely batters an eyelid. He repeatedly dismissed valued criticism from fans, adding that he thought the series' plodding nature was a kind of deep artistic statement that, we weren't educated enough to enjoy. Let's be honest here. Intellectual elitism is such a funny thing. I'm a member of a special club. No, Corey, we're intelligent enough to recognise bad storytelling when we see it, even for the general audiences. Let's not forget this thing is kind of on the acolyte level. My God. Let's not forget the worst offence. The Rings of Power completely disregards the established timeline of Tolkien's world, compressing thousands of years in what feels like a hasty, disjointed mess. That's a massive betrayal of Tolkien's work, but according to this dude, it's somehow necessary for the show's modern appeal. What is this mythical modern audience? Tumblr shippers? People on Twitter that make stan accounts? People that read YA romance novels? Come on. Let's be honest here. That modern audience doesn't really exist. It doesn't exist. He's so busy trying to justify Amazon's lazy shortcuts that he's forgotten what's made Tolkien's world and lore so rich and compelling in the first place. Its depth and carefree attention to detail. His shilling reached new heights when he tried to brush off complaints about the show's underdeveloped characters and nonsensical subplots. Rather than engaging with the very real concerns of fans, he keeps defending this failed abortion of a television series. It's as though he thought he's more interested in staying in Amazon's good graces than actually addressing the glaring problems that are plaguing the show. Amazon, who dare to... My God, where do I start with this? My brain is melting. Amazon, who dare to critique the series as anyone who critiques the series as missing the point. But Olsen seems to be missing its integrity. That's what makes me laugh. If you are taking money from Amazon in any way, shape or form, even if it's for access and freebies, there's a problem. It's painfully clear that his priorities have shifted. Instead of offering a thoughtful analysis or even balanced critique of Rings of Power, he's gone full corporate shill, whitewashing every flaw in the show that has plenty. He refuses to engage in honest conversation about the show's failing and in interpreting Tolkien's long-time lore. The fans deserve better. Where is the scholar who once cared about upholding Tolkien's legacy? Lost, it seems, in Amazon's pocket. There's no nuance in his approach, no willingness to admit that Rings of Power isn't quite doing what it should be doing. From the incoherent storytelling to the complete disregard for canon, the show is an insult to Tolkien's world, and yet him, rather than standing up for integrity of the source material, continues to defend a shameless pile of mediocrity, as it's apparently a groundbreaking achievement. It's not. It's not a groundbreaking achievement in any way. In the end, he has become a symbol of what happens when scholars trade integrity for a paycheck. He's not fostering meaningful discussion or contributing anything worthwhile to the conversation around Rings of Power. Instead, he's promoting Rings of Power PR talking points and hoping the fans will buy into his empty phrase. For real Tolkien fans who know better, and unfortunately for this dude, his willingness to sell out will be remembered long after this show is long forgotten.